Okay, welcome back. When we last spoke, we spoke about changing, not using inline styling, but using internal styling. And both of them are valid. You can use them however you want. But there's going to be times where you think, actually, I'm going to make the move. I'm going to use internal styling. And once you do, you'll kind of never go back. You might use inline styling every so often, but generally you're going to be using internal styling, which is where you define the styles up front in between the style tags, which are in between the head tags. Okay, so this is great and everything, but the problem we have is that, I don't want to change all the buttons to background color pink. It might be that I have kind of two styles of buttons. You maybe have like a primary button and a secondary button. And so rather than just choosing that tag and saying, yeah, all of them are going to be pink, you want to kind of make your own styles and you want a bit more freedom. And that's where classes come in. And once you use classes, you never go back. You'll use this for everything. So I'm going to show you how this works now. So the way it works is I'm going to type something in that isn't a tag. I'm going to type something in that I'm just going to completely make up. All right. Now I'm going to call it primary because I'm going to imagine that I've got a primary button. So it's a word that I'm going to remember. And what I do is I just style it like we've already done. I won't choose background color because I'm using that for everything. I'm just going to use color. Now color means the text color or the font color. You might not realize that without seeing it because it just says color, but that's what it is. Color means the color that the text is going to be. So what I've done there is I haven't chosen, a tag, like button or H1 or footer. I just made that up. I literally could have called it anything, but I want to call it something memorable. And so I've called it primary. And I've said that primary means color is red. Now, because I made it up, I need to tell the HTML that it's something made up. So if I put a period at the front or a dot, that now becomes what we call a class. So there is the class of primary. And what I can do now is I can just go to any of my elements on the page and say, hey, you're going to have the primary class added to you. And then what the HTML and the CSS will do is it will then apply that style to whatever you've added the class to. So let me show you what I mean by that. So imagine if I say, right, this H1 right here, I'm going to give it the class of primary. So we've been doing this a lot recently. You kind of hit a space just after the name of the tag. But this time we're going to write class equals and then our little speech marks. Previously we've done href equals when we were doing a hyperlink. We've also done style when we were doing inline styling, but this time we're going to do class. And then it says, okay, well, what class shall we add? And I've only made one and it's primary. So let's type it in. You don't need the dot. You just write primary. So what that means is that the H1 tag where it says page title, and I can't believe I did the logo below the page title. Surely it would be the other way around. What it means is that the page title has now kind of inherited the class primary. So if I save this, what's going to happen is page title is now going to appear in red because I defined the style up front. My class was primary. And then I've kind of, tagged this H1 tag with the class of primary. So if I now come to my browser and I refresh, it's now gone red. Great. Now I can use that class anywhere I want. Let's add it somewhere else. Let's add it to the second button, class equals primary. And then I save it and I refresh. And now that one's got red text. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm just adding it wherever I want. I can add it to the footer. I can put it wherever I want. And as long as I'm putting primary, everything's fine. Let's try that. And now my footer's red. Now, if I was to type in just a random class and save that, it's not going to work because there is no class that's called whatever that word is. You have to define the class up front and then put it wherever you want. And the reason that this is useful is imagine if this was kind of like your branding, like there was a specific hex code that you were using for your branding or something. All right. Let's just type in my hashtag. Yeah. So imagine like 333765. I don't know. And then if that's kind of your branding color and I save that, then all of your elements that you've just like tagged with that class are going to be that color. But then if you change your branding and they say, oh, actually we've changed our branding, it's now 222888. Then all you need to do is change it in the class. And then remember these classes are all kind of pointing up here. So if I refresh this now, it's going to change the color for all of them. So classes are fantastic. And you don't need to limit yourself to just one class. Like I can add more than one class to anything. So let's do another one. If I do we'll call it large. And then what we'll do is we'll say font size colon is 30 pixels. So there we go. I've defined another class. Now I haven't added that class to any of my elements here, so nothing's going to happen. You're not going to see anything in large font because I need to actually add it to something. So let's add it to, let's do it to this particular button here. So that's large. And if I save it and refresh the page, then there you go. That one just happens to have big text. But I can add it to this one as well. Even though that's already got a class, let's put another class on it. So you do primary, but then you do a space large. And now what happens is it's going to apply both to it. So this has got both a blue text and it's got large font because it's got both classes on it. Now make sure you leave that space, because if you put it, if you can kind of concatenate the words, it's going to look for the class primary large, which doesn't exist. So it's not going to work. So you have to make sure you've got that little space in there. And that's it. So classes are your best friend. You define them up front. And then what you do is you kind of add that class to any of the elements on the page. And then what it will do is it will look up to the top of the page, find out what this means. It says, I know that I need to make the page title primary. What does that mean? It looks at the top and says, brilliant. It means it needs to be this color. So classes are your best friend. And I'll see you in the next video.